Yes, people, what's happening? And welcome back to the channel and welcome to another live stream and match preview for Southampton versus Chelsea. Yeah, we're back in action again. The games are coming thick and fast. Starting the first of two games this week. A big week for Chelsea, following on from probably the performance of the season against Villa on Sunday. We head to the bottom of the league, Southampton, and then we've got a huge game away at Tottenham. To cover the game, we're going to be talking all things Chelsea. Nina, thanks for coming as always. We were in a studio yesterday at the game on Sunday. You must be sick of speaking to me about Chelsea, but we're here again. How are you feeling? Looking forward to this one?
Yeah, really good. Well, let's plug the studio show then, since you brought it up. Everyone, check out our studio setting video. We filmed after the Villa game, obviously. So Alex, myself, and Charlie. It's actually a really good show. I thought it was a really good show. Got some some good comments. So yeah, guys, if you haven't seen it, go check it out on Chelsea Fan TV. But yeah, good game. I'm still quite happy really with what I saw. It's obviously good. I mean, everyone loves winning, but just the style, I think that makes it even better, right? Not just the result, but how good the performance was and everyone performing, everyone playing. So you almost just kind of have this hype now where you're just excited for the next game. Do you know what I mean? Like, I can't wait to see how we play against Southampton. So yeah, good days for us Chelsea fans right now.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing that Maresca deserves credit for, is like installing the feel good factor back at the club, because now like fans are actually looking forward to games again.
Yeah.
Whereas not so long ago, I was dreading going to games and dreading matches, and you were like longing for the international breaks. Now it's just like, keep the games coming. And yeah, you know, our good form won't last forever. We will go through some difficult moments, but there's such a better feeling around this season already. Compared to any of the previous seasons. Now, of course, I know it's not going to be plain sailing, and we're going to have some tricky moments and stuff, and there will be some times where you're sort of thinking, what are we doing? That was a dreadful performance and whatnot. But I think, you know, things are on the up. Things are looking positive. Before we dive into the game, we've obviously had a little bit of we've had some stuff from Enzo Maresca in a press conference. I want to start with one of his claims. Say big claim, but it's quite a big claim actually. What are your thoughts on him suggesting that Chelsea in the next 5 to 10 years, because of the age, can be one of the sides that dominate English football? What are your thoughts on that? Because a lot has been said about the project, about you know, the recruitment, the young players and whatnot. When are Chelsea going to start winning things? Is this ever going to be a thing that really truly works? What are your thoughts? Do you think Chelsea can dominate English football in the next 5 to 10 years? I mean, I know we all certainly hope so, but there's quite a big way to go from where we are now to get into that stage, like a Man City style domination, for example.
Yeah, I mean, well, a lot of people are now saying, and I love this comment, that the process is processing. And when the process is processing, that means that you're on the right track to achieving what you set out in the first place. I don't think it's a wild comment to make, to be honest with you, because I think that's the whole point. You know, when Todd Boehly and co started, you know, painting out this picture of what they wanted to do and what the ambition for the club here was, this was the ambition, kind of, you know, locking players in, young players, talented players in for these kind of 7, 8, 9-year deals, for us to, you know, one day mold all these players into a really good team of well-performing players that are coached well, with a good manager, with a clear ethos, a clear style, clear identity. So I don't think it's a wild thing. If we stay on track and we continue, you know, evolving these players, making things work, but also making sensible reinforcements in the transfer window where we see, you know, it necessary, then I think we're on the right track. You know, I mean, look, it's so early right now. We are obviously in a really good place with how things have started under Enzo Maresca. There are still, though, things that we can feel concerned about, and that's normal. I think we need a longer span of things being successful. For example, this season as a start to be a great positive season where we do get back into Champions League football and win ourselves a trophy, or maybe 2, not to be greedy. But do you know what I mean? And then we can actually see this season and think, well, this is a perfect example that things are clicking and there's a reason to be hopeful for the future. So I don't think it's massively wild, especially when you look at the context of what's going on in the league at the moment, with Man City looking like they're coming towards the end of that really dominant Pep era. And of course, there are other clubs, you know, Arsenal have been in their own process for as long as we can remember now under Arteta. What does that look like? Liverpool obviously building under Arne Slot, looking like they're off to a great start. But when you look at the teams that perhaps have this ambition for the future to be a dominant team, we would certainly, and I'm sure other people would place us being that team in the mix there for the future. That's not a crazy thing to say.
No, I don't think it is. I think we are well placed. I think, you know, all the pieces are there, the quality's there, the players are there. There's probably one or two bits that we still need to add. And of course, as the seasons go by and as we develop and the players get more experience and they get better and they start to reach the potential that the club believe that they've got. Now, of course, you can caveat that by saying not all these players are going to reach the potential the club believe that they have, because the football doesn't work like that. They're not all going to reach that. So it's not going to, you know, not all those signings will be successful. Not all those players will become as good as what the club envisioned them to become. But I think the ingredients are there. The pieces are there. I think with Maresca, we've got a manager. I'm not saying he's going to be here for 5 or 10 years, but we've got a manager who can take us, in my opinion, quite a long way along the road to getting back to where we want to be. But in terms of the project itself, right, how have your thoughts changed over the last 2 years on it? Because I know when the ownership first come in and we went through those first couple of windows and people were really unsure on the recruitment, there was a lot of backlash against the owners of fans not liking them, etc., etc. I think now we're the most stable that we've been both on and off the pitch since the takeover. I mean, have your thoughts on the project, have your thoughts on the recruitment side of things, have they changed a little bit now that the evidence has changed and now that, you know, the squad actually does look pretty decent?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think, you know, me and you were probably among the fans that always looked past just the manager not being able to, you know, do what they're like, do you know what I mean? Like, we always looked past the manager in the last 2 years when things were going south with Chelsea, and we always looked at recruitment, ownership, and how all of that had kind of had an impact on why things were so wrong on the pitch and all the chaos in the club. So it was definitely a lot harder to believe in this process and sort of what this journey looks like. It's much easier now to see that certain players we bought that we at first were quite apprehensive for are now performing, are playing well, look like they are improving. And at the end of the day, that's what we were told would happen, right? Give the players time, give the players, you know, a good manager, a good environment around them so that they can flourish, become better. So I think, yeah, definitely my thoughts have changed because I do believe in recruitment a little bit more. Like you said yourself, not all of them will come good. That's quite impossible, even as good as recruitment can be. You will have certain things, you know, go wrong for you. But in terms of the talent that we've recruited, yeah, I feel positive. I mean, at the start, we had lots of people telling us that we've bought a bunch of no names and that some of these players are way too overrated or way too overvalued. And maybe for some, in terms of overvalued, was probably true, but a lot of them have come good. And there are certain players that we now look at and say, it makes sense. So the fact that I'm on that page as opposed to still thinking, where does that player fit in? How is that player useful? Is much better. But definitely a lot of the trust issues are being answered. Not all, but some, and perhaps the majority, which is a good thing.
No, I tend to agree on that. By the way, guys in the chat, let us know your thoughts. Have your thoughts on the project changed at all? You know, since the ownership come in, have they changed in the last couple of years? Are you more happy with how things are than they used to be? Let us know in the chat. Let me just go through a few things and see if anyone's saying anything. Let's have a quick look. Yes, big up, brother. I hope you're doing well. Not gonna lie, I'm more nervous for this one than I was for Villa. This strangely, this will be I know the Villa game was supposedly meant to be harder. The Villa game was way easier than I was expecting it to be. I actually think this game tomorrow will be more difficult than the Villa game ended up being. And I know Southampton have got, you know, 3 or 4 of their best players missing. No Ramsdale, no Tyler Dibling, no Harwood Bellis, no Flynn Downs and whatnot. But I just feel this in theory, I think it's going to shape up to be a bit more of a difficult game. Yes, big up, brother. By the press conference quotes, looks like we won't rotate much. Yeah, we're going to get into that very, very shortly. Bro, we're not at school. Don't apologise for being late. It's all good. I'm quite happy at the moment. Let's see how we react when things don't go our way. Yeah, I've mentioned this. I've mentioned this a few times as well. It's all great when things are going well. It's all easy to be really positive and like it's all very it's all nicey nice and whatnot. But the real test for me, you know, as we've discussed before, you know, in terms of how we're going to do against teams that we've previously not had a good record against, and how we're going to respond to sort of adversity and moments in the season where we might go 3, 4, 5 games without a win. Is that a concern? Is that a concern for you at all in any way? That we've not really seen how this team reacts when things don't go their way, because everything this season has pretty much gone our way. Yes, we've lost to Liverpool, we've lost to Man City, but we haven't gone through a period, with 4 or 5 games without a win or something like that. I mean, does that concern you at all?
Well, obviously, everyone loves winning, and it'd be great if we could go on this, like Father said, unbeaten run until what was it, the end of January, where we win every game. And as much as we'd love to believe that, there is of course going to be bumps on the road, and I think that even still that's going to be like someone who just commented, it said, to see how he reacts to things, how the club reacts to things. I think one thing I fear is that a lot of us Chelsea fans have this kind of PTSD from the last 2 years, where we all think that once we've seen some good things and things have always looked a lot better and brighter, and I think this has been one of the peaks since the takeover for sure, we've always kind of dropped when it has come to a place where we've, started losing a few games and things have started to take a bit of a toll. And, if that happens, I just worry that people might forget a little bit kind of where we are and what we're doing. Maybe we'll think that, we're no longer on track. I mean, I think my biggest fear is people turning on Enzo Maresca. And I think, again, that is one of those kind of traumas you hold on to as a Chelsea fans because of how things have been in the last couple years. But I think he has proven that there is a reason to trust him and a reason to have faith, and he almost makes me believe that even when things go wrong, he'll find a solution. So I think it would be absurd to say that Chelsea will not have difficulties this season, because again, I think we've been quite lucky with having all of our players fit. We've been quite lucky with executing our game plans, and not lucky, we've been good, we've performed well, we've completed and fulfilled our roles. But if we do start, maybe losing some games here and there, I just want people to remember that we are so much more on track with this process than we've ever been since the takeover. And as long as, we keep at it and we achieve our goals, even with a few bumps in the roads, if we actually learn from those lessons and take them as a positive, then that's great. But people forget we are still on this process, right? We almost kind of started again a little bit with Maresca coming in, because it was now his time to make his impact, his chance to unfold and choose the players that he wants to build around. So we kind of started again, and the fact that it's gone so well is a great positive, but that doesn't mean that things, won't get bad. But I do think, and I worry a little bit, that if things do get a little bit bumpy, that people might turn a little bit. But as long as we can remember what we're working here towards, hopefully it's fine. But yeah, we'll see how Maresca reacts. And I think even when he goes through those difficulties, he'll earn people's trust even more, if anything.
Yeah, do you know what? I feel the most confident I've felt in a while in terms of us being able to respond to going through a difficult run of fixtures. Like, I actually sort of believe in the manager, believe in this group of players more than maybe previous managers, or more than I might have believed in the squad over the past 1 or 2 seasons. So, like, obviously, no one wants to go for a difficult run. It happens. It's football, but I think that we've got someone who will get a response from the players, will know how to get out of that situation. And we've started really well. We've only lost 2 of our 13 games. Things are going really well, and it does feel like it's going a bit dangerously too well, and you're only like 1 loss away from a crisis at Chelsea. The narrative can change so quickly. But I feel really happy with where we're at as a club right now. I know it's different to what we're used to, and we shouldn't be like, top 4 and winning the conference. That's not what we want to be doing. But right now, for this stage of where we're at, that represents a good season, and that represents a good building block to then move on to challenging, back at the top end of the table, which is what we do need to be doing. I just want, before we move on to like the game and stuff, I know this is throwing it forward a bit, but this is a thing I've spoken about before as well, because this is fine now, keeping players happy when you've got those Conference League games against a poorer level of opposition. You can make those changes. There's enough minutes to go around and whatnot. But when you get to the latter stages of the cups, and when hopefully we're back in the Champions League next season, you're not going to be making those level of changes for Champions League matches. You might make 2 or 3 changes, but you're not going to be making 10 or 11. So there's going to be all those players that are getting Conference League minutes and not going to be getting those same minutes in the Champions League. And we are going to have a difficult balancing act. You've got Esteban Willian coming in next season. You've got Kendry Paez coming in next season. We'll probably make 1 or 2 signings. Yes, some players will leave. Maybe Nkunku leaves. Maybe Madueke goes. Maybe Mudryk goes. I don't know. But you look at the squad and you look at the players that are playing in the Conference League right now, those same guys aren't going to get those same opportunities in the Champions League. And that's where I'm actually throwing it forward a little bit. I don't like to throw it too far forward, but that is potentially quite a big issue to sort out.
Yeah, I agree. I think what gives me comfort though in this right now is that Enzo Maresca is doing quite well he's not trying to keep players happy by handing out minutes, right? Like it's some sort of charity, like everyone gets a little bit, but at the same time he is making things open to the players where if they play well, they get game time. And I think that's what makes them even work harder than, I don't know, previously, because they can see that it is possible to earn your spot in a starting 11 at the weekend if you put on a great show in the midweek fixtures, for example. And, while that's all great, I think that what we are currently going through is we still don't really know or haven't seen what our strongest. As in, yes, we have seen strong starting 11s, but I think if you asked maybe 5 Chelsea fans what their strongest starting 11 is, you'd probably get a few variations, especially in the kind of the front department, because, we've got a lot of quality players, especially in the attacking department. So that would be quite different for everyone. Whereas if you were to ask maybe an Arsenal fan, they'd probably be a lot more identical because, they've now worked out what their strongest 11 kind of looks like in recent times. So I think that's quite refreshing because we still don't actually know what that looks like. And I think Maresca's still working out what works better. Every game he makes certain tweaks to, better our chances and set up accordingly based on who we're playing, which is really refreshing. It's a great approach to having games. But also, it's about still working out whose biggest strength is where, because we have certain players that will still be quite versatile. You have wingers that start on either side sometimes. So it's still very much work in progress. It makes a lot more sense as opposed to last season when Poch was experimenting with these positions and stuff. But with Maresca, it's quite good at the moment. So I don't think we actually have this problem yet. I know it's something for the future, potentially. But at the moment, none of these players are guaranteed superstars. Yeah, Cole Palmer may be the only one because of last season's performance. But everyone else is pretty much kind of working off a pretty new slate, right? They don't have these massive numbers from the last 5 years to back them. We don't have those players that have been around and have absolutely solidified their places in the starting spot. So it's very much open. It's wide open still. And I think that's quite good for the time being.
No, it is obviously good, but my concern would be like it's hard to get the balance right, though, isn't it? Because you want strength in depth and you want quality in depth and you want to have these options to rotate. And I think the options we've got right now and particularly in this busy run coming up to Christmas, that's going to be where I think we really reap the benefits of having these options. But obviously, if you throw it forward to next season, it's great to still have the options, but it becomes a much harder juggling act and balancing act to keep these players happy when the minutes simply aren't going to be there to hand around. And so I know it's a squad game and it's like 25 players in a squad or whatever, but let's be real here. Realistically, you're relying on 15, 16 players. You're starting 11 plus your sort of your 5 subs, and the others are kind of just maybe filling in here and there. So I look at it and I think, yes, you've got a great squad. Yes, it's great to have these options. I just don't know how many players are going to be happy with their situation when the Conference League minutes that are probably keeping them happy this season are not going to be there next season in the Champions League. So that's a worry for another day. But I think it's one that will is fast approaching on the horizon and something that does need to be thought about. It's great to have these options, but it's very difficult to keep everyone happy, and inevitably there will be players that will decide to leave the football club, and there will be big players at that.
We already have one really unhappy player. I think we can see it. You can see it on the pitch. Nkunku doesn't look very happy.
Well, to be fair, you can't blame him for being unhappy, but then you also have to look at it and just think, well, do you know what? You're not doing enough to get in. I say you're not doing enough. Like, he's a top scorer for Chelsea in all competitions, so it's a bit harsh to say that he's not doing enough.
How mad is that? How incredible!
But when he plays, it's difficult because it doesn't give you what Jackson gives you. And what Jackson gives you is far more beneficial to the team. So whilst Nkunku might be better in the penalty box, and maybe he's better at inside the box, Nkunku is a better player than Jackson. But everywhere else, unfortunately, he's not. So it's a really weird situation where you've got a top quality footballer who we all thought was going to be a real big part of Chelsea. And like at the briefings last season, Chelsea, they think when Nkunku comes back, it's going to transform everything. Now we're in a situation where basically the chances are he's more likely than not won't be here next season, which is kind of a bit of a mad transformation. Let me just get to a few things in the chat, and then we will move on to some of other stuff, some team news ahead of the game. Let me just quickly get this. Happy you've not both taken a debate on other streams about. Yeah, no, like there's no title race. There is no title race. People can try and make you say, "Oh, Chelsea are in a title race." We're not in a title race. We're 9 points back. We're just taking it one game at a time. We'll see where it happens.
What's really funny, what I'll say on that is Liverpool liked to play that at the start when they were on par with City and Arsenal, and they were obviously not in the conversations at all going into the season. And then when they started going on a bit of a run, people were like, "Oh," and Liverpool went, "Nah. We're not in a title race. We're not this." And now look how that's changed about 30 games in.
But yeah, I will not be talking about Chelsea in a title race.
Neither will I.
Unless we find ourselves in a situation where we're 5 or 6 points behind come sort of end of January.
9 points is not a title race.
No, it's not. It's not.
It's 2, 3, 4. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I don't think people understand that Liverpool would can lose 3 games, right? And we'd have to win all our games. Right now, I can't even see Liverpool losing 1 game. So yeah, to suggest that Chelsea are in a title race is nonsense. Could we potentially finish 2nd or 3rd? Yes, we could maybe. But title race, absolutely not. So yeah, no, I won't be falling for that bait. If you catch me on any shows saying that, then I've slipped up because I don't think that.
I'll watch you in January. Yeah, Chelsea are in a title race.
No. I won't allow myself to get carried away. I think the team against Villa was realistically our strongest current 11. Potentially, although I don't think Caicedo will play it right back in many on a regular basis. Our strongest 11 will be one that has a recognised right back in it. Yeah, look, we don't have any shortage of suitors for players that we're looking to sell. There absolutely won't be any shortage of suitors. Privately, they know they are ahead of schedule and with a great chance of at least. Oh yeah, we're definitely ahead of schedule under Maresca. Maresca said that himself, that he's ahead of his of where he expected to be at this point in time. We are definitely ahead of expectations, and we are on course to finish in the top 4. But of course, it's only 13 games. There's 25 left. Whilst things are looking good now, we could be sitting here in 3 weeks, and things could be shit. So you just got to take it game by game and just enjoy the good things. But yeah, in terms of obviously we have spoken about Wesley Fofana before, but it was confirmed, Maresca confirming today that he's going to be out for. Well, he said it's going to be weeks with him. Now, weeks could be 2 weeks, could be 4. I don't really know, but he's not. I don't think he's really going to feature that heavily over this festive period. He started every game this season in the league except for the Liverpool one for which he was suspended. How big a blow do you think this is for us?
Yeah, it's unfortunate, especially because he's been injured before now, and it's almost like he kind of started his career a year late after joining Chelsea, so he felt like a new signing, and we feel like we've seen glimpses of what he can do, and then he's been kind of snatched back into the medical room, sadly. So yeah, it's a little bit of a worrying one because we've obviously seen that Maresca has preferred Wesley Fofana and Levi Colwill as that strong duo in the centre-back pairing, so you kind of worry, what does that look like? Even though at the start of the season I said, a few games in when people were saying Fofana's our best defender, I was still a bit like, well, I want to see a little bit more because I don't think he's quite earned that title just yet of being our best defender. I think he's been really great. He showed good qualities. He did well to disarm Ollie Watkins on the most part. 9 out of 10 times shut his threats down against Aston Villa. And, that was frustrating for one of the players that, is among the best scorers in the league. So certainly did a good job on that front. But it's a shame now because you do worry when players frequently pick up injuries and, they're in and out. You do worry about how kind of regularly you can rely on them. I think reliability is something we spoke about as well, myself and you and Alex the other day, because if you want to build this team around someone who's going to play week in, week out, and they're injured, then that's just a bit of a blow. But it's a good chance for Badiashile to come back in. You know, I think we've all seen that Badiashile is probably going to be the second best. I think I'd be open to seeing Tosin at some point too, but Badiashile's definitely had more game time and more time with the squad too, so it makes sense for him to come in as opposed to Tosin. So yeah, again, it's a chance for him to play, but with how things were going, obviously Fofana was not flawless for me, that's true, but he was certainly gaining a little bit more chemistry there in the defensive line, and you do worry when it chops and changes.
No, you do. I think the one area of the pitch where you don't really want to have players out is at the back, particularly if you're breaking up.
Especially with how much our defense changed in the previous seasons too.
Oh yeah, I mean that was partly down to a lot of injuries, but yeah, the one part of the team you don't want change on a regular basis is your centre back pairing, and what I don't know why people don't seem to like Fofana that much. I mean, I've said it.
And I'm not liking. It's just a little bit of I don't think we've seen quite enough.
No, I get that. My point is that I remember after the West Ham game, right, where there was, and I've been on here and in loads of places shutting it down as nonsense talk, right? After the West Ham game, right, where Tosin played alongside Colwell, Fofana played at right back, right? People were saying that Tosin was a better player than Fofana and should be starting alongside Levi Colwell. Now I maintain that was nonsense, like just complete nonsense based on the fact that, I'll be real, Tosin's not fit to lace Fofana's boots. He's nowhere near as good a footballer as he is.
What are you basing that on? Their performances for previous clubs? Because it wasn't much.
I'm basing that on, one, how Chelsea want to play. Tosin is not a front foot defender. He does not bring the ball out from the back like Fofana does. He doesn't, you see Fofana bring the ball out from the back, go on those runs and that. Tosin doesn't do that. Tosin gives you box presence, right? And he's relatively decent on the ball. Okay. But other than that, can someone please tell me what Tosin is better than Fofana at? Tosin is not blessed with pace. This is a guy that is 26 going on 27. He's had a good career. He come through at City and he played, he's played a lot of games for Fulham, done reasonably well. Okay, we signed him because he was an opportunity, right? Because he was free. If we had to pay money for him, we're not going for him, in my opinion. So I'm just not getting what this hype is around Tosin from people and why people think he's better than Fofana. Fofana has been obviously missed the whole of last season for injury. He's still finding his feet. He's getting better each week. Yes, there's a few issues. Yes, there's a few mistakes there, as there is with everyone. But Tosin is exactly where he should be at Chelsea. Fourth choice centre back. That's what he was. He wasn't signed to be anything else.
Okay. No, I get that.
No, you're not having that.
No, I think it's a good no. His strengths certainly that you listed there are better than Tosin's. I was just coming from a place that I think that people a bit too quickly at the start of the season said that Fofana was, the best defender out of the bunch, and I was just saying that I would like to see more from Fofana, and I think reliability is a big thing, because I think reliability is something that we've not always had, especially with defenders in terms of staying fit in our previous time, and I thought the bar was set quite high by someone like Thiago Silva, but it's hard to see what we had and expect it to be the same. It's not quite there. And I think all of these players are still improving. They're by no means polished defenders. And I think it's really important to continue polishing that. It's definitely a blow, though, that Fofana has now become injured, because it means that we're again going to try gain some chemistry there in that back line. Which we were previously building. I think especially when you have to see how this affects Levi Colwell as well, because I almost feel bad for him a little bit, because he's been a player that has played alongside so many different defenders since he joined Chelsea once again, that it's almost been a constant chop and change. Not only was his position changed under Pochettino, but also he played alongside so many different defenders that it's been hard for him to build chemistry with any of them. So I think that for him as well, it's going to be a blow, because he's just about kind of gotten used to playing alongside Fofana, and now he's going to try and have to build another chemistry, another partnership. So yeah, it's definitely not the best in terms of consistency and continuity. Hopefully that doesn't, break up the balance. But I think we've already worried this season coming in that our defense is probably among our weaker, departments when it comes to an actual collective, not in terms of individual players, but a collective, strong back line goalkeeper included in that. And I think that's where we've seen a lot of mistakes being made and opposition have forced errors out of us. So I do worry a little bit about how this changes things in terms of a consistency.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just going to get to a few things in the chat and see what people are saying about this. For me, I can't understand really why it's that much of a conversation, but you know, people have got different opinions, and that's fine. It's injured for what 3 years has he been injured for? Because I went through this the other day, right? Had a broken leg at Leicester.
Included.
Had a broken leg at Leicester, right? Broken leg is not injury prone. Okay, ACL is not injury prone. Those are unfortunate injuries that aren't his fault. Muscular injuries, yes, I'll give it to you. Like if you're picking up repetitive muscular injuries, that is an issue. But if you've had a broken leg from a dreadful challenge and you've done your ACL, which is just like which can just happen, which can happen to anyone. I'm not classifying those as his fault per se. I don't think any injuries are anyone's fault, but if someone's picking up repetitive muscular injuries, then you can understand that it's more of a problem on their body. I don't think it's a waste of money at all. I think when he's fit, he's comfortably Chelsea's best defender by a long way. I think if you've got a problem with something, I think the bigger issue at Chelsea is the fact, why did we replace Thiago Silva by signing Tosin on a free transfer? That is a bigger issue defensively than it is talking about Wesley Fofana and his injuries. If we just replace Thiago Silva with a proper quality centre back instead of getting Tosin on a free, then this conversation about Fofana being injured,
signing, wasn't he, as well in that window, Tosin?
It was the first signing we made, yeah.
First signing, yeah.
But this is my point though, like, okay, Fofana's great and I really like him and I think he's our best centre-back when he's fit, but a lot of these issues could have been alleviated if we just hadn't, or if we'd actually properly replaced Thiago Silva and not really just sign Tosin on a free to replace him.
No, that's why a lot of people will agree with that, because I think we all cried for a little bit of experience, because I think we celebrated the youngsters and the talent and the potential. But I think I said this even at the start when recruitment started going down this route, where it's all great and well buying lots of potential, but we do also need those well-established players with a little bit more experience up their sleeve to make that transition a little bit easier and to have someone to learn from. You know, I kept saying that partly why a lot of our younger defenders did maybe as well defensively, even though we conceded a record number of goals last season. But the fact is that they had a Silva playing alongside them. And I told you that maybe the reason Disasi and Badiashile took a bit of a dip after Silva left was because Silva made them look like better defenders. That's just not a wild thing to say when you have someone as good as him and as world class as he was playing alongside them. And you're right, that void was not filled. It wasn't addressed. And I think come this window, people will still want, and me included, want a little bit of experience to come into this squad. That's not to say that, you know, these players are doing rubbish. No, but you can tell in some games where a little bit of experience doesn't maybe make the same mistake that one of the younger ones does. And that's just, it's just reality, really.
Yeah, no, I think it's clear that we do lack leadership at the back. I know Colwell is displaying like signs of potentially developing into a leader, but we haven't really got someone that marshals that back line. You haven't got a goalkeeper in Robert Sanchez who I think is vocal and is a leader in that position either. So you look at these things and it's just like, I'm not saying it's avoidable, but it just would have made more sense if we'd properly replaced Thiago Silva in the summer. I mean, look, maybe they tried to and the players they wanted weren't available, so they just took an opportunity on Tosin, who's going to be a quick flip and will be sold for a profit because he was free. But Tosin is exactly where I thought he would be. Yeah. He's a third or fourth choice centre-back for Chelsea. I don't think anyone thought when Tosin was signed he was going to go in and be first choice. Now, I remember in the summer I said that maybe he might feature more than people expected him to do, but let's be real. He's getting the amount of minutes that we expected him to get, which is not very many, because he wasn't signed to be a first team player. He was signed to be a squad rotation, the odd Premier League game here and there, and play a few games in a Conference League. That's what he is. So I what's qualifying him to play in the Premier League ahead of a Fofana or ahead of someone like Badiashile? Badiashile, right, has been through a difficult run of games. Difficult run. You know, he come in under Graham Potter in that manic January where we signed loads of players, and he fitted in seamlessly. You know, straight into the team. That first 6 months, he was unbelievable. Looked like he'd been playing at Chelsea for years and years. Picked up that injury when Lampard was here, And then when he come back in under Poch, looked a completely different player to the one he was before, making mistake after mistake after mistake. But Chelsea still believe in him, and there's more of an upside in Badiashile than there is in Tosin. You're better off investing your time in Badiashile because he's 23 and there's still loads of room for development. Tosin at 26, going on 27, how much better is Tosin actually going to get? I don't think he's going to get that much better. Whereas I do believe at 23, there is significant improvement in Badiashile, which is why, for me personally, it makes more sense for Chelsea to be putting more of their time and their effort into Badiashile, because Badiashile, one, will potentially make them more money. And secondly, you know, he is more of a future for Chelsea than Tosin is.
Yeah, no, I'm just laughing because obviously, you know, our chant about Todd Boehly going to France in a Lamborghini.
Yeah, it's great that. It's good. It's underrated, that one.
But it made me laugh because a lot of people, as soon as he dipped, said Todd Boehly needs to go back to France with his Lamborghini and return.
Yeah, no, but it's true though. I mean, just briefly on Badiashile before we do move on. What are your thoughts on him? Because there have been reports linking him with a move away. He's been better this season. He started his first Premier League game of the season against Leicester, had a very good game. I thought he was decent enough against Heidenheim, and then he was good when he come on against Aston Villa. We're starting to maybe see a bit of the player that we saw in his first 6 months at the club. Where are you at with him?
Yeah, I mean, I think we'll make that decision now when he comes in, you know, for Fofana, and he's got a real chance here to prove himself once again. He was, I think, one of our better players when he came in the winter window with Enzo Fernandez, and, you know, we saw a pretty promising player there. Took a little bit of a dip, but I think, you know, every player deserves a chance to come back, and I think this will be his, you know, his door once again open to come back into the side and be quite good. I think we have struggled maybe to see the best out of him when he's come up against better, you know, offences in the league. You always do kind of worry. I also think with Badiashile is he is one of our taller defenders, but I don't see that aerial dominance really when he, you know, is in the box, whether defending or, you know, attacking corners. I think that's something that, you know, we should be seeing a little bit more from a player of his physicality, of his height. But yeah, it's hard to have an opinion right now because I think that the sample of games is quite small. But let's see it. You know, let's see him alongside a Colwill. Let's see how he copes with obviously Robert Sanchez behind him. It's a question mark.
Yeah, no, I hear it, but I think he's the best option to replace Badiashile. I'm sorry, to replace Fofana. Because the Sassy out of the picture, forget about him. No. He's better than Tosin, as we've been saying. But again, you know, Renato Vega is another possibility. I mean, I know people aren't really talking too much about him, but he does play at centre back for Portugal at the moment. Well, certainly in the last two Nations League games, he did start alongside Thomas Araujo. So, I mean, I personally don't think he's included in those options potentially to replace him. But and also today Maresca obviously saying that he's not decided who's going to replace Fofana, but he basically mentioned Badiashile, Tosin and Disasi as options. Didn't even mention Vega. Now is Vega a viable alternative at centre back? I know he played at centre back, I think, against Panathinaikos in the Conference League, but I'm not sure if he's more viable than Badiashile, for example. If it was a case of who do you want at centre back, Badiashile or Vega,
Badiashile.
I don't want Vega there. Yeah.
No, it's got to be Badiashile. It's nothing personal on Vega. I think he is just still quite raw. I think he's got really good qualities and we've seen them. But is that enough to warrant him starts in the Premier League and give him a bigger responsibility? I'm not too sure, especially when we now have games coming up where it's must win, don't concede. And, you know, we are going to come up against teams that have good attacks, especially, you know, in December, and that will punish us. Is that too big of a job maybe for Vega to come in there? Not too sure, but it's really hard, isn't it? Because I don't think you've had enough of a time to see and judge these players in a Chelsea shirt, and it's more of you're kind of collecting your different, you know, facts and opinions based off what you've previously seen, what you've seen in like the midweek games. But I think Vega's got other qualities that, you know, maybe Badiashile doesn't have. I think he's a bit quicker. Maybe that's one thing. Pace, think maybe better aerially as well. But when you look at it in terms of how much experience the players have had, and just based on appearances in the Premier League, you are going to go for the one that's got more Premier League experience, even if that's quite scarce.
No, absolutely. Guys, over 100 in the building. Make sure you're smashing the likes. We're only on 54 likes, which is pretty piss poor.
That's
so, guys,
awful, guys. Come on, hit the likes.
Guys, come on.
It takes a second. You'll make myself entirely happy. Support the channel, guys. Everyone, hit, Charlie, I'll tell you what, we're going to stop talking until we get to 100.
No, we're not doing that. We're not doing that. But guys, come on, we got to do better. We got to do better than that. So, guys,
also, I really hate the fact that I've got my Southampton logo behind my head and the red, Charlie.
And it looks like you're wearing a little halo as well, so you could be happy.
Not with the Southampton logo behind.
No, it's just
not particularly happy with that.
Just to let the people know that do you want me to go on that side? Would that make you happier? Should we swap?
Yes, I'd like some blue.
No, we're not going to swap.
Why did you ask?
No, because I actually don't know how to do it. But anyway, game tomorrow. Talk to me. How are you feeling about this one? Obviously, it will be a totally different game to what we had on Sunday against Aston Villa. As I said, no Ramsdale, no Dibbling, no Harwood Bellis, no Flynn Downs. Arguably their 4 best players all missing. But don't know. Part of me just feels this could be a potential banana skin. Maybe. I'm not saying we're going to slip up, but I think it could be a bit closer than maybe what many people expect. I mean, or maybe it won't be. But there are no easy games in the Premier League. Yes, we are better away from home than we are at home currently this season. What are your thoughts about this one?
Yeah, it's a tricky one as well. I don't feel that confident even. We had a chat yesterday about it, saying that this is one that could trip us up just purely because it is midweek. You're going up to their ground. It's going to be, a bit rough. Southampton did the double over us, as mentioned, not long ago, and they had this, pretty positive spell against us in that small time frame. But it's a bit of a worrying one because you saw them give a tough time to Liverpool as well, scored 2 against them, even though they've not been particularly high scoring in the league. I think they're sat on like 5 points at the bottom of the table, but I don't think it's going to be a stroll in the park. They will make it difficult, and teams in the drop zone always do make it difficult for teams that are further up in the league, and could be a bit of a reality check just with where we are. It should on paper be 3 points, but we know football's not played on paper. Again, you do worry a little bit with the defensive chop up, how that might play out, but I like to think we've got enough creativity in now to find ways to break these teams down and find ways to unlock defenses when they do make it tough for us. So again, I think it's a completely different test from Aston Villa, because I think 2 very different kind of styles of play as well. So Southampton could make it difficult, I think, and it is maybe a bit of a tougher game than the others. I could probably more confidently say we beat Tottenham at the end of the week than Southampton away, but it should be a win. It really, really should, and I think that it will be a much bigger deal, as crazy as that sounds, beating them than.
Well, we do owe them a win, because they did a double over us in that 22-23 season.
They scored 3 goals over those 2 games, I'm pretty sure. So
they beat us 2-1 and 1-0. So that was
was the 1-0 at home. Wasn't the 1-0 at home?
Yeah, 1-0 was at home. Ward-Prowse free kick.
Well, there you go. That makes it even worse. They beat us 1-0 at home.
But I think the one thing for me, which could be helpful for us as well, is that obviously Maresca knows Russell Martin. He knows how he sets his teams up, because obviously he come up against them twice in the Championship last season. I think Leicester beat Southampton both times quite convincingly. Yes, Southampton will probably have a few different players, but I think their style has largely stayed the same. So Maresca is going to know pretty much inside out what Southampton, like everything that Southampton do. But this is the important thing, though. We have to be ready for this game. We can't be having half an eye on Tottenham on Sunday, because if you're not fully focused on this game, you can easily have a little slip up. And we have to be fully focused on it. We can't be thinking about Tottenham. We can't be thinking about other things. Full focus on how we're looking to play on this game. Southampton play out from the back as well. We saw against Liverpool. They gave Liverpool a pretty good game the other week, but they made some really poor errors playing out from the back. But they are a brave team. They play on the front foot. They want to keep the ball. It could be a tricky game. But again, I'm not sure about Maresca referring to it as the toughest game since we started the season. I'm not really quite sure what he's referring to.
I think means because of the fact that we've been going on obviously a really positive run here where we could be getting a little bit, not complacent, that's not the words I'm looking for, but just almost seem like we're smooth sailing through every game now recently, because, you know, I still don't think we're quite on a winning streak in the league where we are absolutely blowing, you know, teams away, especially recently when we picked up a few draws in November too. So I think that he kind of means from a point of view where we beat Leicester, fantastic game, Villa, one of our strongest displays, and I think that he's saying that this is a tough game in terms of, you know, don't go away to Southampton at their ground and think that's an easy win. I think that's where he's coming from, because, you know, they will make it tricky, and what if they do, you know, decide to just sit back at us and play for a draw, and then we you know, we really struggle to find that break of the deadlock there, because that's also something that could happen. So I think it's a tough test in that regard, that it's not going to be quite like the other games we've recently had, but also Maresca's still trying to keep these players hungry, you know. Yeah, on paper you should be, if you're third, you should be beating 20th place teams, but at the same time it's not always how it goes. So I think that it will actually be a really big deal to go and win Southampton. You know, give them that respect, they will make it tough for you. Set up right against them, continue execute the game plan as we always try and do, and it should be fine. But is this going to be a high scoring game? I don't think so, but if we can go there, get the job done, great. I say that, but we did also have a good game against them recently when we beat them. Was it 5-6?
Oh, we did, yeah. But I think we beat them like 6-0 or 6-1 under Thomas Tuchel. Yeah, I think even Werner scored a few goals in that game, which kind of mad. But no, I agree. Look, without their four best players, they are going to probably. I don't think they will alter the way that they play, because Russell Martin, I think, is pretty set in how he plays, but they're not going to have anywhere near as much quality as they would have had, and the quality at the best of times there is not, you know, with greatest respect to them, they don't have the most quality, but they're Premier League players. They're a Premier League side. Yes, they've only got one win all season, but we saw against Liverpool, I know that was with their best players available, that they can cause teams problems. So we've got to be focused. We've got to make sure we know exactly what we're doing. Look, if Southampton sit back, you know, the impetus will be on us to break them down. I don't think we struggle against low blocks as much as we have done in the past.
Yeah.
Because, for example, against Nottingham Forest, we created enough chances to win that game. Against Crystal Palace as well, we created enough opportunities to win that game. So we are creating chances against teams that might sit a little bit deeper. And that's what we've traditionally struggled with in the past. So I look at it and I think, do you know what? Even if they do sit back, we've got the quality to pick them off, and it'll just be a case of being patient. You know, I think they took the lead against Arsenal, someone in this chat saying as well. So, you know, they do score goals. They've got a little bit about them, but without their four best players, it does certainly make the task that little bit easier. I would say, and they were also robbed at Brighton as well. But yeah, look, if they make mistakes playing out from the back like I have done previously, then yeah, it could well be a long day for them. We're going to do a quick team in a sec, but how much rotation do you think Maresca's going to make? Because I think, you know, the general consensus is that, you know, the team that played against Villa, I feel, is probably going to be very similar to one that plays against Tottenham. But in this game here, there will be some rotation. Maresca seemed to play down the amount of rotation he was going to make in the press conference, maybe because he's not going to make the rotation or he doesn't want to give anything away. How much rotation do you think we should be doing in this game? Because obviously Nicholas Jackson and Pedro Neto are both one yellow card away from a suspension. We don't want either of those unavailable for Tottenham. And you also want to protect the players, and you also want to keep players fresh and whatnot. And that's the whole point of having the squad in this busy period, is to use it. Obviously, there's not going to be 10 or 11 changes like Conference League, but what level of rotation would you like to see?
So I don't think it's going to be wholesale at all. We're obviously playing midweek, but it is a league game. It's not a Astana or Shamrock Rovers quite yet. So I think this is a game where we don't change much from what works at weekends by the sound of it. Enzo's taking it seriously, as he should. You know, we really need these points. We need to climb and cement our place where we are right now. And we always know that even Premier League games at the moment, if you lose and other teams win, it means that you can interchange quite a few places almost immediately. So that's something we want to avoid. So this game is, take it seriously. Yeah, absolutely. But we shouldn't necessarily be looking ahead to hello. We shouldn't necessarily be looking ahead to Tottenham and, you know, have that game in mind. But I also think it's quite important. And when you have quality up front, and here I am talking about Jackson, who is obviously another yellow away from suspension, do you maybe bench him just for this game, just so he doesn't pick up another yellow in what could be a quite frustrating game where if Southampton make it difficult and decide to sit back and we're trying to break the deadlock, it could mean that some of our players get a little bit too rash, a little bit too challenging. We have seen that sometimes. Is it a case where you maybe start an Nkunku, because he is someone that can maybe bring a little bit of creativity and break down tough defenses? I think he's shown that he can work quite well with small space. So where, you know, Southampton might defend quite tightly, he is quite quick on his feet. You know, he's a good dribbler. Could that be an element of, you know, I guess a surprise or perhaps like a weapon that we use against Southampton? I think Nkunku could be quite a clever decision to start in this game for that reason, and also to make sure that Jackson's available for the weekend, which is a huge game. We know that Nico all loves a hat-trick against Tottenham at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, so we need to make sure that he's available for that one. But yeah, I think that, and obviously Wesley Fofana's absence means that Badiashile comes in. Maybe one more change somewhere on the pitch, but I think that's it. Maybe I don't think it will be as crazy as we have seen previously.
No, I don't think it will be, but this will be the game there'll be rotation in as opposed to Sunday. Now it's a hard balance to find, right? Because Jackson's in form and he's scoring goals, and he looks like he's quite durable. So there's a temptation to stick with him, but you also need to. I know he's been on a one yellow away from a ban for the last sort of few games, but it would be just our luck with him. I know he's matured a little bit, but it'd be just our luck for him to pick up a yellow in this game of all games, having avoided the yellow for the last few and then missed Tottenham. So I would be tempted to not start him, or maybe tempted to, but I don't know. Obviously, like in terms of the back line, obviously Sanchez will continue in goal. Jorgensen won't play again until that Conference League game against Astana. In terms of, I think we can both agree that we would personally go with Colwell and Badiashile, but equally, having sort of spent a bit of time not slagging Tosin off, but maybe not speaking in that favourable terms about him.
Charlie, I think you did quite that.
No, I didn't. No, it wasn't nothing personal. Just an opinion on his football. I wouldn't be surprised if Tosin started either, but the evidence suggests it'll be Badiashile. Would you bring Malo Gusto in at right back? Sure, I think that makes sense.
Yeah, I would. Yeah.
And then left back, I don't see why you wouldn't continue with Cucurella.
Cucurella.
Yeah, any chance
in that chant loud. He loves the away chant.
Yeah, it's always there. Do you think there's any possible? I know we both go Cucurella, but do you think any chance Vega at left back maybe?
No,
Not to start, but maybe he comes on. I don't know.
I think have this consistency in the back line, especially because you're bringing in Badiashile there for Fofana. I think Cucurella has been on an absolutely immense run, and he's not really dropping poor performances. So long may it continue. And as I said, Cucurella has been really crucial in our build-up play as well, and he helps our attack quite a lot. And when it comes to a little bit more of a surprise cross or something that, you know, helps our attackers, I think that's again quite a crucial quality to have there in the left back when you're playing a team that could potentially sit back at you. I just think for me, Vega's a little bit too. Again, I've not quite seen enough to start him in this game. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I hear it. I think we could maybe, if the game is won, I could potentially see him coming on for some minutes to replace Cucurella just to give him a little bit of a rest. In terms of the midfield, then, for me personally, I don't see Romeo Lavia starting this game purely because it's so soon after the last one, and Maresca has spoken about with him and Fofana and whatnot that they're not ready to start 2 games a week, maybe until 2025. It could, of course, change his mind, but I'd be surprised if Lavia started 2 games in such quick succession. So, for me personally, I think it will be Fernandes and Caicedo.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts? Do you think, do you agree with me on Lavia? Do you think we could see a Dewsbury Hall? Do you think there's a chance for a Cassidy? What are your thoughts?
Not a Cassidy. I think for me, he's not ready to compete with Premier League midfielders. I think Southampton have quite a physical team, and there's a lot of height there, and I think he'd struggle. Even though he's quite tall and physical himself, I think he still makes quite a lot of mistakes, even when he plays midweek against the Conference League teams we play. But you know, Lavia could come on as a little bit of a surprise. Hello, Southampton. Did you miss me? And maybe cause a little bit of chaos there. But I agree with you. I think Enzo Fernandez and Caicedo have, you know, both been exceptional recently when they've played, and I think that, you know, maybe this is where we see the beginning of a prosperous duo, you know, Enzo and Caicedo, which we've so longed. I think individually they've massively improved. We'd like to see that continue together. So if anyone, I think those two, and again, you're looking at maintaining some consistency from the midfield at the weekend. I think respecting Southampton as well in that department, because, you know, I think that's where they do make it a little bit tricky, and those one-on-one duels will be quite crucial. But yeah, again, you know, you're looking at a bit of consistency, and I think that's what Maresca has shown is probably the better call to make. And then obviously we know that we're going to make a change, maybe two up front.
Yeah, I mean, how much obviously Caicedo is so important to us. I'm sort of wondering whether he will actually be rotated in this festive period. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he started every game. I mean, he might be taken off in games. He was obviously taken off against Leicester, for example, you know, in the second half. But I'm starting to wonder whether Caicedo will be rested or rotated in this period. I'm not sure.
I don't
know if he will.
I don't think he will either, Charlie, because I think we're seeing that he's becoming one of our most important players in terms of how much he helps out defensively, how much he helps out in midfield. And I think you don't drop a player like that or bench him right now. He's in his groove. He's in his element. When we look at what happens when you take out other players that perform on a high level in other teams and they miss them, whether due to injury or something else, you see a little bit of a break on chemistry. And I think Caicedo coming out of this team could be the difference of us losing a little bit of momentum and losing our little bit of that kind of strength element we have that's almost keeping us together. You know, I think it's not far to say that every team has a player that's almost like a bit of a nucleus. I think Caicedo could become that, or is working his way up of becoming that, you know, in the same way where you take out other players from other teams and he's, you know, it kind of goes wrong. So Caicedo for me is a must start every game, and there's nothing to protect him from. Hope he stays fit and he continues it on, but you don't bench a player that's dropping 9 out of 10 performances week in, week out. He can absolutely continue playing.
No,
and he's shown,
I agree.
In terms of durability as well, I think he's shown that, because, I mean, he's another player that travels so far to go to international duty, comes back and is able to perform for club too. If a player can handle that, that's props to him. How obviously, unfortunately, recently we've had so many international breaks where, you know, club games have been broken up as much as they have been, but he's dealt with that pretty well. So he's showing that he can deal with this. So this is not too much for Caicedo to handle.
No, to be fair, he went to South America. He had a baby, and then he dropped a worldie against Leicester. So I think, you know, I think a couple of games a week he can probably manage that. Lavia for sure. I don't think starts. I think he'll be rested. He could well come on. Palmer's another one of those that I think is in the untouchable category. The forward line is where I think we will see some rotation. Now, I would have benched Madueke for this game, but because I expected him to start against Villa. I actually think Madueke might now start this game.
Yeah, I agree with you.
On the right-hand side. So for me, this is what I would go Madueke and Mudryk on the left. I think Sancho obviously started on Sunday. He played the full 90 against Heidenheim as well. Neto, I think we could maybe save him for Spurs a little bit. For me, I'd go Madueke and Mudryk. What are your thoughts on that? Would you agree, or do you think someone else?
I think Mudryk's a great shout, but I also think that Sancho could be quite useful.
Yeah, again, do you think you can go 3 starts in a row with Sancho?
Well, the thing is, I get why you were asking me that, because I think that, you know, he's had quite a long absence out since, you know, he obviously had his illness and we'd not seen him for a month plus. And I think when he came back in, he almost slotted perfectly. And I'm just looking, not because of, you know, him starting again, I'm looking more of the fact that we're playing Southampton. And I think, again, quick feet, good dribbling, and taking on your man is quite a welcome thing to have against Southampton if they decide to sit back at us and be really difficult to break down. I think you need players that are quite good, you know, in tight spaces, and I think Sancho is really good at doing that. Mudryk provides you more pace, definitely, but then again, I don't know. It's just more of a technical thing, I think, with starting someone like a Sancho in this game. But
we didn't even mention Felix either. Sorry, we haven't mentioned.
Oh my
Felix.
gosh, yeah, you're right. See, this is because we have so much talent and wealth in these departments. But you know, Joao Felix is somebody again who I look at and think that he is one of those more technically gifted players in the team as well that can be quite, you know, techie, quick feet. And you see it because I think alongside Palmer, Felix is one of the most fouled players on the pitch because he's just really good, quick feet, and he often makes players come in for late challenges on him because, you know, he is quite good. So Felix isn't a bad shout, I think, for this game, actually, on second thought.
I just personally feel that, I mean, I don't know. Like, I would much rather Mudryk started on the left. I was surprised that he didn't feature at all against Villa, considering he'd done pretty well in the Conference League. Maybe he starts this game against Southampton.
Charlie, I think when you start, because what you got to do is, yeah, we have these really good wingers, but I think what you got to do sometimes is kind of rank them a little bit. And do you get a Mudryk into a team ahead of like a Sancho, a Neto, and a Madueke? I think that's what you also
depends on I suppose it depends on the opposition, but you know, you do need to use these players, and you know. If people are saying that, oh, you know, Mudryk can't be trusted, or you wouldn't start Mudryk against a team that's bottom of the table, then when do you start him? Like, but you know what I mean, though.
It's a good point.
Do you know what I mean, though? Like, I like him, and I think he's improved a lot this season. But at the same time, if people are sort of unsure whether he should start this game, what does that say about the player? And Chelsea maintain that they believe in him. Maresca, you know, says that he's happy with him and whatnot. Mudryk, if he's going to be starting games over this festive period, you would have this one down as almost a dead cert for Mudryk starting in this game, because I think it'll be Neto and Sancho against Tottenham again, and we go Mudryk, Madueke in this one personally.
Okay, so then we are actually looking at quite a few more changes than
one enforced in Badiashile.
One forced in Badiashile.
Gusto comes in for Lavia, so that's okay. Two,
and then three, four, and five, because we know who we're putting up.
You're starting, yeah. I would probably start in Kunku in this game as well. To be fair,
so that's 5 changes.
There's 5 changes, so it's half the outfield team has actually changed. Having said there won't be that many changes, but to be fair, there's 2 in defence, and then you've changed the front 3. I mean, that looks all right.
Yeah.
I mean, that's enough to win, though.
But if in the same way, though, Charlie, that you say you start a Mudryk in this game, then what's the case with when does Felix get to start? Because he doesn't start against the kind of top sides. He doesn't start against kind of middle table opposition either. So if he doesn't start,
well, maybe Felix does start this. Or maybe Felix does start this game.
Well, maybe he does. Do you know what? Can we just have 15 players out there on the pitch?
Maybe Felix does start this game. Maybe he plays Felix on the right-hand side instead of Madueke. I don't know. Maybe he plays Palmer on the right and Felix plays in a 10. Maybe we see that, for example. But
yeah,
like you do need to use your squad, and you do need to.
Felix came on for like 3-4 minutes, didn't he? And he just picked up a yellow and then he left.
Felix literally got booked straight away.
Yeah. I mean,
like when he come on, there's a bit. He has got that fire in him. We saw it against Fulham. When he got sent off on his debut. No, it's not about making. No, I know it's not about making my mate. They're not my mates. So as much as
we're actually gonna get a call from Joao Felix after this stream. Really unhappy.
Felix is ringing me now, guys. He's pissed that I've not put him in the team.
Charlie, I wish they were our friends though.
It'd be all right, that, wouldn't it?
Yeah, we could, that'd be good.
But, no, I get it's about balance, but what's unbalanced about this right now? I don't think it looks particularly unbalanced. Because you've got natural width on both sides. Palmer in a 10. I do think there's a possibility, though, that you could actually see Palmer start on the right, maybe with Felix playing 10.
That's actually a good shout. That is a good shout, because
I'm feeling Mudryk's going to start this game. I mean, I want him to start this game, and I like him, and I'm a big fan of his. So maybe that's the way we fit him in. But then would he bench Madueke for 2 games? Maybe he would have. Though Madueke come on and got the assist for Palmer. I don't know. I'm sort of glad that I'm not making the decisions.
Oh, dear. It's tough.
But whatever. But let's be real, right? Whatever combination we put out right on the pitch, is in theory more than good enough to beat Southampton.
And then also, like, even the players that don't make the starting 11, you look at the bench and you think that's such a good threat to have coming off the bench if things need freshening up on the pitch. Southampton won't be blessed with that, because they're already falling short in that department, and they'll have to make changes because they have players out, so they're not going to be blessed with having a bench they can turn to, whereas we will. So that's also another positive in our locker.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree on that. Literally going to go for a couple more minutes, guys. In the chat, get your score predictions in for tomorrow's game. Nina, what are we saying tomorrow night? Score prediction? Are we going to make it?
I hate doing score prediction.
Are we going to make it 3 Premier League wins in a row, 4 in a row in all comps since the international break? We are. Yep.
Yeah.
What are we going with?
We have to. And I have my apprehensive thoughts, and I have my fears and worries, but I also have belief in this team, the one we just built, and also the one that could be put out by Maresca, that we can win this game. And again, it will be a lot bigger than people think. It's not going to be one of those job done, easy win. But I don't think it's going to be high scoring. I really want to go. See, I want to say clean sheet, but again, part of me worries.
2 clean sheets in a row. That's tempting fate, isn't it?
It's tempting.
When was the last time we kept 2 Premier League clean sheets in a row? That can't have been a regular occurrence recently.
Yeah, and you know what? Also, you never know what Sanchez is going to turn up with on the day. He might decide to give Southampton a little wee Christmas present, so you're also not too sure about that.
Yeah, no, it's true.
Reasons to be concerned with defence. So I think that we could concede, but I'm going to back Chelsea for a 2-1 win here.
We're going to go 2-1. I'm going to go 3-1. Just before I quickly bring this up, which is again, there's context to this, injuries, level of opposition, and whatnot. But yeah, of the 11 away games we've played in December in the last 4 years, we've lost 7 of them, which is not ideal, but things
change.
Yeah, things are there to be changed. Let's have a quick look at the score predictions in the chat. I'll give my score predictions and then we'll wrap this up because I've got to go out. 4-0, 3-0, 3-0, 4-1.
I love it, guys. Very confident.
4-0. Someone's bantering here. 6-0 Southampton. 3-1. Yeah, I haven't found that footage yet of that thing that I just went on.
Well, I'm waiting for it to come up because I can't wait to see it.
Well, I don't know what the channel was called, so I don't think I'm ever going to find it. I didn't know. I also didn't know what state New York was in. Do you know what American state New York's in?
Oh, I thought we had to wrap this up, and you got to go.
No. I do need to go. What state is no? Because one of the questions as well was what state is New York in. I didn't know that.
Charlie, I've just gone blank.
Do you know what it is, right?
It's really going to make us look so stupid on this.
It's in New York State. I had no idea New York was even its own state. But so I basically got 2 wrong. In that, are you smarter than a Chelsea fan?
A trick question. It is.
Well, I don't really know. I think I got 2 wrong. Might have got 3 wrong. Anyway, I'm going to try and find it.
I actually really had to think about that.
6-0, 3-0, 4, 3, 6s. No, I'm definitely not, mate. Definitely not. We had awful coaches then. We had Tuchel then as well. Yeah, New York. Yeah, I know Texas Blues, American. So yeah, he's obviously got a much better idea about that shit than I do. I didn't even realize. I thought New York was in Manhattan.
I actually really started to think about. Do you know? Oh, I'm not even going to say anything. Let's wrap this up.
Yeah, let's wrap this up.
Thanks, everyone.
Needs capital. Anyway, yeah, I'll give my score prediction. I've already done that. 3-1 win for Chelsea. Guys, on the way out, make sure you smash the like button. It's free. It takes seconds to do. Let's get this up to 100 likes on the way out. We need 20 more likes. I reckon we can get that on the way out, guys. So make sure you smash the like button on your way out. Please subscribe to the channel if you're new around here as well. I think we're about 10 subscribers away from 13.5k. So that would be nice if we could hit that today. How many away are we? We're 7. Oh, we're better than I thought. We're 7 away from 13,500 guys. So
come on, guys. Yeah. 7 subscribers.
If you're new around here, if you're tuned in and you're not subscribed, hit the subscribe button. We're 7 from 13.5k. Let's reach that as quickly as possible. Yeah, smash the like button, all that good stuff. Nina, thank you so much as always.
Yeah, pleasure.
Let the people know where to find you and what you've got coming up.
Yep, guys, Nina's Chelsea Corner. Charlie's kindly linked it in the description. Make sure you subscribe to Charlie, guys. And yeah, if you enjoy Chelsea content, subscribe. Yeah, I do match reviews, few live streams planned in the pipeline. So if you can subscribe, that'd be much appreciated. Thank you.
And Studio Thursday?
Studio Thursday, yeah.
And Studio Thursday as well, guys. Me, Alex, Nina, and maybe someone else as well. I actually don't know who the fourth person is, if there even is a fourth person. So yeah, that'll be dropping Thursday on Chelsea Fan TV. If you've not checked out the show from the other day, make sure you check it out. It's good fun. Yeah, guys, thank you so much as always. I'll be back tomorrow. Match day vlog will drop after the Southampton game. And I'll be back on Thursday with some match reaction and all that stuff. And we're going to be looking ahead to the Tottenham game as well, because that's coming up on Sunday. So loads of content coming this week, guys. Love for the support as always, and we'll catch you again in another one soon.